You're sliding in some of the risque jokes right before we start.
Right before we start. Camera comes on, and we're still laughing about them.
In front of Jerry, you can do the risque humor.
You said, I got to get back into my box.
I know what I said.
And she said, do I need to do this? And I said, no, he slid back into his box.
So here I am.
And then she politely ignored it. And
you started giggling at yourself.
And I did.
It's the Krisha and Frank show. Day 6 of Christmas, I believe.
Yes.
Which is why we have the December decorations up.
6 geese a-laying.
We'll change them out for the new year, even though the 12th day of Christmas doesn't come until January 5, and then you have Epiphany on January 6. Nobody believes that anymore. So all you have to do is Google it.
Right.
Anyhow.
Well, people don't believe a lot of things.
That's the good point.
There are a lot of things you should believe that you don't.
You should believe that our show is on all the audio podcast apps you can listen to on your brand new Christmas devices. Yes. Smartphones and smart TVs. Watch us on YouTube. Yeah. And please do subscribe. We're I have a feeling that if you get in now, you'll be ahead of the curve. Yeah. You know, I feel like there's something happening on the horizon that'll get us a lot more subscribers.
Do you want to be an early adopter of the Krisha and Frank show?
Yes, you do. You want to say, I watched them before.
And you never know, we may get to a point to where we can do something nice for our first subscribers.
Like what? Am I missing something? Did we talk about this?
No.
Was this in the meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't be. If you want to listen to more stuff besides just us, go to audibletrial.com/Krisha and Frank. And I believe they probably have a show of the best burps. They probably have a book about belching that you could just listen to it. I imagine. I mean, we can Google it and see. I think that they probably have something.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm windy.
But you know what amuses me?
I know. It amuses me,
Is that what that old song is about? Everyone knows it's windy.
There we go.
Is a girl who belched.
Yeah.
I never liked that song, but now I might.
I had a black bean burger for lunch the other day, and whoo, I was full of wind.
Where?
At my house.
Oh, okay. I thought you have to go to a special black bean burger store.
Nope. I buy Morningstar Farms black bean burgers. They're loaded with protein. Low carb.
Very good.
Yeah.
Good for you. All right.
Yeah, it's.
Are you doing plant-based, or you're eating?
No. I'm just.
These happen to be something you like.
I love them, and I'm trying to make better food choices.
Okay.
So I can balance out when I drink a hot chocolate bomb.
But I also think that, given the new year, your New Year's resolution is going to be stop wearing yourself out driving to Gatlinburg. And it's not even. It's the way it's going to be. You're going to be able to get back to your normal exercise and diet routines.
I will say that working so far away from where you live has some significant drawbacks, which it takes up, especially driving to Gatlinburg. Like if I were driving to Athens, it may be a little different because you're not dealing with like tourist traffic regularly.
Yeah. But the distance might be the same.
Even though it's a pandemic, and even though this area is bad, nobody seems to care.
Gatlinburg it's like its own. Sevier County is its own world,
and nobody seems to care. Yeah. And there are so many people. So yeah, I'm looking forward to a calmer routine where I can go run more often. I've only been able to run. Like you had
been doing before you got cast in this show.
Right. I've only been able to run like 2 days a week, and it's been And of course, the push to New Year's is 6 shows straight, but before that, it was 5 shows straight.
What are you going to do in the winter? I mean, when it's like icy and snowy and...
Well, I mean, sometimes we don't get that at all.
Okay, it only lasts usually a couple of days when we do.
Right. If it's 30 or above, I'll be outside. Okay. I have the right gear to do it because I honestly, it feels so good.
Really?
Yeah.
I think Megan used to say that when she was she used to do long runs before she got married, and I couldn't imagine.
You just don't like winter.
I I have a story about this because
it's like I knew.
I so dislike. Well, I've got the
it's like I knew.
Actual list of topics.
You had a story about not liking winter.
But all right. I never have. I've always disliked winter. Going back to the year that I slipped on a tiny patch of ice and broke both bones in my arm.
Okay, well, that'll do it.
I mean, going back to the year that I drove over a patch of ice and totaled my car. Mm-hmm. Going back, I have so many memories of just everything about winter is terrible to me.
Do you ever think that because you hated winter, winter hated you back?
Yeah, I'm like, I'm Mr. Heat Miser.
Right.
I'm Mr. Sun. I mean, I get depressed in the winter. I get the seasonal affective disorders to the point where my chiropractor made me start taking massive doses of vitamin D, D3 or whatever it is that helps, the sunshine vitamin.
Yeah.
It also helps with your immunity system, so it's a good thing to take anyway. Yeah, so maybe winter hates me. I can say I can agree with that.
Yeah.
That winter hates me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate winter. So, I mean, anyway, recently my mom passed away, and since then we've been trying to sell, give away, start to clear out her house.
Right.
Because we have to sell the house. That's part of the deal. It's in the paperwork. It says, sell the house, divide up the money.
Right.
And I'm thankful for that. Believe me, I'm very thankful for that because I haven't had a paying job since Labor Day. So, no better time to lose your job than Labor Day weekend. When we honor America's workers. So, one of the things that's in the house are these lovely paintings or prints of paintings that a cousin of my mother's made. I think it was her first cousin.
Okay.
So he'd be my first cousin once removed. And he's an artist, and I think his day job was he would draw disgusting, detailed pictures of surgical wounds for court.
Oh, okay.
Because lawyers would hire him to draw these very detailed pictures of people's... They'd take an X-ray, and he would draw it to look like it came out of Grey's Anatomy
That's kind of cool, yeah.
And then they would, instead of showing the X-ray to the jury, they would show this
the
nasty...
reenactment photo.
Yeah, drawing of that was very detailed.
That's cool.
Anyway, so he's a good artist. And somehow in the family, there were at least 3 that I know of, but maybe 4 pictures of a lovely, you can imagine it even being in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, a very bucolic scene. And one of them, it's obviously autumn. In one of them, it's obviously spring or summer. And in one of them, it's clearly winter. And there probably was 4. But however it worked out, between when my grandma died and my mom inherited one or 2 of these prints, and my mom had one, she ended up with 3 of the 4.
Okay. And there's 3 of you. Sibling-wise.
But my sisters don't want them.
Okay.
So we were going around with who wants the prints, and Frank Jr. said he could take some. He's got nothing on the walls in his house up in Michigan. He would take the prints. And Jerry and I said, well, we could probably take 1. He can take 2. We can take 1.
Right.
So we carried the 3 prints from Mom's house here to Tennessee to divvy them up to give to Frank Jr. when he goes home after visiting for the holidays. Well, they're packaged up. 2 of them are wrapped together and are ready to go to Frank. Jerry says, well, maybe we can hang up the print that we're keeping. And I said, which one is it? She says, the one that's wrapped separately. And I'm like, okay, that's great. It's John Healy is the artist's name. We got a gap in the wall because we moved some stuff around. I said, well, go get it. And I go get it, and I unwrap it, and she's got it wrapped in a fitted sheet to protect it. And I open it up. And I go, not the winter, not the winter picture.
You're such a child. You're such
Why can't I? Why did I get stuck with the winter picture?
I like winter.
The Frank Jr. likes winter. Give it to him. And apparently, she and he had worked this out at some point over.
You get the winter picture
over. It's Thanksgiving or something. Yeah, and I'm like, oh, man. So I want to see if he'll trade. It's lovely.
Are you going to try to trade with your own son?
Yes. I'm going to see if I can upgrade.
That's rude.
He likes winter.
But he's already worked it out with Jere for which one he wants.
Who cares? His birthday is in January.
He obviously
cares. My birthday
cares.
is in June. I'm a summer person. I'm Mr. Heat Miser.
I'm Mr. Sun.
That's me.
Right.
I don't want the winter picture. Well, it's got snow in it.
As a lot of winter pictures do.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. Why would I want that?
I don't know.
It's
nice.
He's a decent artist. It's nice, and it's been, and even on top of all of the other things, regardless of whether the quality of the art is any good, the fact that it's a relative and that's been in the family, and my grandmother, his aunt, proudly displayed it in her home, and then my mother, his cousin, proudly displayed it in her home where she had room to hang them all up.
Oh, there was art when my granny sold her house that they just like, when my granny sold her house, I wasn't living in Tennessee at the time, but they just threw away and had a yard sale and gave to people. And there was stuff that, I mean, it was generic, you know.
But it had meaning to you.
Right. And I would have loved to have had it, and they just chucked it away.
Well, like there's a picture that's actually now down at the bottom of those stairs.
Yeah.
It's a map, an ancient map of Bermuda.
Okay.
And I asked if I could have it, because it reminds me of my dad, because it was special to him.
Yeah.
That's where he went on his honeymoon. That's where he used to go to do all that work for Bacardi Rum. You know, so I have his Bermuda print. Every time I walk by, I'm like, hey, that's cool. I like it. It makes me happy. You know why?
Why?
Because the Bermuda is an island, a tropical island in the ocean where it doesn't get cold. It gets maybe a little brisk in the winter, but it's nice weather.
But you know what's not good for summer?
What?
Decaying bodies.
Oh, those are the worst. You know, actually, the winter is helpful if you're trying to not keep a body from. If you're trying to keep a body from decaying.
I'm so good at segues. I need to buy one.
If you went to one of the most fascinating lectures that Dr. Bill Bass does, and you can learn more about his books at bonezones.com.
Don't forget the S.
Is how the changing seasons affect the ability not only for a body to decay, but makes it harder or easier to find said dead body.
Right.
Based on what time of year it is.
So I want to talk to Dr. Bass because I just heard a podcast that is not a local podcast. It's like, I listen to murder porn podcasts.
Yeah.
That was about murders that happened in Knoxville.
Yeah.
And I knew nothing.
Was it the Zooman Husky murders?
No. No. I knew nothing. This is like 2015, 2016. It's a guy that killed his parents.
Oh, the guy. His name is Guy, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's an amazing story.
It's unbelievable.
It's gross. It's so disgusting.
It's horrific. And I will not repeat it because it is horrific.
I remember when that was first happened and it was on the news and people were like, I don't remember this. I'm like,
I've never heard of this.
I did.
But you can get, if you're like me and you love all things gory and weird and just, it's fascinating to me more than anything is the science of it is fascinating. Bonezones.com, don't forget the S.
Great gifts like these tumblers that we use, but also other fun things like t-shirts and tote bags and hats. And so if you got a little extra Christmas cash and you want to buy yourself something nice,
get yourself something nice.
Go to bonezones.com.
Don't forget the S.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice segue.
Thank you.
Because, winter, you see, the bodies they decay as fast.
Right.
Because it's like being in the freezer.
Right.
Yeah. Whereas in the fall, the leaves hide them, and in the summer, they rot very quickly.
Yeah.
They call it, Dr. Bass came up with a system called basically it's a degree day, and to determine the length of time that a body has been laying there, it's based on the temperature of the day. It's all calculated.
Yeah.
Because the hotter it is, the faster they rot.
Well, I was actually happy that it was really cold on Christmas.
Yeah.
Because so the kids are with their dad on Christmas Day. They're with me. We opposite every year.
Yeah.
And they're with me Christmas Eve, and then on Christmas Day I took them back home.
Which left you free later in the day.
The rest of the day. And so I decided, I initially was going to volunteer. I wanted to just go give some time and or money and do something.
Like the celebrities do, where they carve the turkey and serve the soup on Thanksgiving and Christmas and get on the news.
And I wasn't going to do it for that purpose. I had my Christmas Day and thought, if I can help somebody, like I had 3 coats that I was going through stuff and found 3 coats. One of them was a men's coat. I had 2 women's coats. And so I found a place that was doing a coat drive locally.
Good.
And actually Beard and Beer Market was doing a coat drive.
Boom.
So I took coats over there and I posted on my Facebook, I have a spare $50 and this much time. And nobody was really doing anything because it's pandemic.
Yeah, last year you would have been overrun with opportunities to go to any of the rescue missions under the, on Broadway and help serve there.
Yeah, and it wasn't even like, it served, like I was just, let me go clean, like I'll just help do whatever.
Yeah, Love Kitchen, you could have gone to Love Kitchen or something. And we still can. In fact, that would be a lovely thing for us to pick a project that we can go, but pandemic has slowed so much of that.
Well, and I think a lot of the agencies are still doing it. They're just not accepting volunteers.
Because think of the liability, because if you work for them, then, you've signed all the paperwork and you signed the protocol, and they can fire you if you disobey. But when I had a job during pandemic times, I had to take my temperature on the way in. I had to write it in a log. I had to check off that I hadn't experienced any of these symptoms every day. And that was, and they trusted me, but they needed it in document form to cover their own tail legally.
Yeah, to say you signed off and you agreed with those things.
Yeah, and I was fine with that.
So I ended up going on a hike. I went on a hike.
A Christmas hike.
A Christmas hike. Usually I go hiking on New Year's Day, but everybody goes hiking on New Year's Day, so it gets really busy. But hardly anybody goes out on Christmas Day. And so I just went and tromped around, and I really enjoyed it.
My friend Bruce and his family used to do the classic We're Jewish and it's Christmas bit, where they would go get Chinese food and go to a movie on Christmas Day, because the movie theaters used to be empty for that reason, not for this reason.
Right, yeah.
Well, I got to tell you a story about when you talk about...
Yeah, because at some point, a few days ago, I was talking about this, and you looked at Jerry and you were like, remember when your mom died?
That was funny.
I was like, what the hell?
The day your mom died, it was hilarious.
Okay.
But now, the mom dying part was sad. But but the day started off differently.
Okay.
It was Christmas. Mm-hmm. And we knew that Jerry's mom... who had just turned 90 the week before. Her birthday was 1 week before Christmas. We knew that she was in hospice and was dying.
Right.
It was time. We were understood. We were prepared.
Right.
So we drove up there to be with her for her final days. And as on Christmas morning, we are juggling between Megan's place and Frank Jr.'s place, and we're trying to... He lived in the D.C. area at the time. I don't remember even who we stayed with. But we're at the point where it's Christmas morning, and we had to get out of the way of whomever we were staying with.
Okay.
Because they were going to have Christmas with their family.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So it was one of the weirdest... Were we? I don't know. Anyway, so we're in the car.
Like, were we?
We're in the car, driving around, looking for something to do Christmas morning. Normally, we'd be home and cooking bacon and eggs, and we'd be opening presents. Well, we're not. We're driving around a neighborhood we don't live, looking for a restaurant that's open.
Yeah.
To get some breakfast. And we see one.
Waffle House is open.
Well, except we're up too far north for Waffle House. We're out of range. And we see something that says, I think it was something like Original Pancake House or something Pancake House. I said, there we go. And there was clearly activity. There was hubbubbery. So we go and we park the car, and so many things are happening. My old car, my stupid old car, I rolled down the window to talk to Frank Jr. in the next car, and my window breaks in the freezing cold. It's bitterly cold. And my window just stops working, and now I can't get it up. So we have to drive around the rest of the day with a blanket. Okay, so that's bothering me. Then we go over to this pancake restaurant, and we're getting closer, and Jerry's like, good, I'm going to... She's already talking about what she's going to order. And my spidey sense starts tingling. Perhaps you can guess as I'm looking around and I'm picking up the vibes that a lot of the people who are going into this pancake restaurant are walking. They don't have cars, and we're not exactly downtown. We're in a suburban neighborhood, and I'm like, my eyes go wide, and I'm like, we have to go. I said, Jerry, we have to go. And I said, this is not for us. And she said, why? I want to get breakfast. And now poor Jerry has got the blinders on because she's thinking about...
She's thinking breakfast.
She's thinking about, we got to get some food so we can get back to the hospice to be with Mom.
Right.
Who died that afternoon.
Right.
Which is another lovely story, I'll tell you. But it sounds weird, but she's got the blinders on. Like, I got to get over... I gotta eat.
Like, she needs some food.
Eggs, maybe. She doesn't even like pancakes. She just wants the bacon and the eggs.
Right.
She wants protein. And I'm pulling her. I'm pulling her arm, going, no, hon, let's go. And she doesn't have any of it. She walks into the front door of the restaurant and says to the man at the table that there's going to be three of us. It's her, two of us, and Frank Jr. And the guy's looking at her like, oh no, we're closed. And we're not serving today. And she's like, but all these other people, you're serving all these other people. And I'm pulling her. And I'm saying, thank you. I'm sorry. I get it. God bless you for what you're doing. You're wonderful. Because as you figured out, this restaurant was closed on Christmas to the general public. Right. But they had opened the doors to... anybody who didn't have a place, didn't have a home, didn't have a
meal.
And it was free food for the homeless and indigent of this neighborhood in Fairfax, Virginia.
So,
And Jere was ready to start throwing money on the table. I'm like, stop it.
just stop. When did she figure it out?
I think after we got in the car. I think that's been when the window broke. We might have gotten in the car, and she's like, "What is?" And she's getting mad. I'm rolled down the window to talk to her, the next car over where Frank is, to explain we're going to have to go somewhere else. This is not. We're going to have to go to a convenience store and just get bacon and egg burritos.
Just get something.
This is not working. I think that's when I finally explained to her. You see, it was a homeless mission. It was like a special, wonderful thing that this restaurant owner is doing.
I straight up sympathize with Jere, because when I am hungry, I need to eat, and I have decided that I am doing this right now. And if I need to eat, this is what I need to do.
Yeah.
And I sympathize with that, because you just go like, I've made the decision. I'm going.
Yeah.
I did something similar, not necessarily, but I put blinders on, and I had blinders on when I was at the beach. Yeah.
So you understand. All right.
I was oblivious to a fight.
I'll wrap this episode up with a sad story, tender, beautiful story then. Okay. Now that I've made fun of my poor wife for not identifying, not recognizing all the homeless people who are converging on this restaurant. And God bless that restaurant for doing it. Yeah. So we go to the hospice later in the day, and we sit with Mom most of the day. And it's meanwhile, one of the relatives is cooking a Christmas dinner. So Frank and I leave, and Jerry's going to leave shortly after. But we've got on the whole time, we've got on my favorite classical station, which is WETA, Rise Above It All. Well, they go pretty much all Christmas, when the closer you get to Christmas. And then on Christmas Eve, they run the Nutcracker all the way through. And they have this choral concert. And on Christmas Day every year, they play Handel's Messiah all the way through.
Nice.
Now, Jere has sung Handel's Messiah all the way through multiple times. And there's certain parts of it, especially the Hallelujah chorus, where they are expected to be off book.
Right.
Because they do it so many times, and the conductor doesn't want them looking.
Right.
He wants them, in
singing.
full on, singing out.
Presenting.
He wants to present. So, she's got this, right? And when the music's on the radio and we're listening to it, and my mother-in-law, God rest her soul, is still declining, even, obviously. And I'm gone. Jerry's there with one sister and a brother-in-law, and Mom, and the Hallelujah chorus starts to come on. And Jere can't help herself, so she stands up and at the foot of her mother's bed is singing along with the Hallelujah chorus. And she knows all the soprano parts. She's not just doing Hallelujah.
As previously stated.
And then at that point she goes, well, I guess, Mom, with that I'll go. I'll say goodbye. And she leaves and gets to the car and starts to drive over to where we're going to be having dinner. And the phone rings, and it's the sister who's still in the room saying, Mom just passed as soon as you walked out of the door.
That's so sweet.
And then the brother-in-law says, yeah, can you sing that for me when I'm... Can you sing me into heaven like that?
Can you just sing me on?
Sing me into heaven? I would like to go that way. We would all like to die. We would all like to die with Jere singing.
Yeah, so us. This episode is Sing Me Out, Jere.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll be back tomorrow with the New Year's Eve program.
Ooh.
And then no show on New Year's Day.
We're not doing anything special for New Year's Eve.
I'm going to wear a tie. That's what I'm doing. And I can tell you New Year's stories, I suppose.
I'm not going to wear a tie.
I've got extra.
Okay.
I've got a whole house full of them.
Cool.
All right. YouTube.com/Krisha and Frank, or all of the audio podcasting apps.
Subscribe.
Thank you.